Hello, welcome to Everyday Experts. I'm your host, Sir Joker. We have a very special guest today. And in true Joker fashion, let me introduce the good sir. So, there are many people that have a lot of different things that they do in life, many pursuits that they follow. My guest tonight is a father first. He's a parent. He's also the head varsity coach for the Whitman basketball team on Long Island, the varsity basketball team. And a lot of his goals and ideals revolve around mentoring and making good men out of the people that he coaches, the people that he works with, and importantly, his players. There's a quote: "A good coach will make his players see what they can become rather than what they are." Now, I present to you one of my very good friends, Mr. Ray Eatmon. Ray, what is up, sir?
Chilling, man, chilling. You know, another day in this light world.
This guy and his light skin stuff. All right. So, here we go. First question. If you could be a vampire, a wolf, a zombie, a ghost, or a serial killer, which would you be and why?
A ghost.
Why would you be a ghost?
Because I got the control. When I want to come up and ruin your life, I could do it. Everything else could die. I'm dead already. I'm chilling. So when you wake up thirsty, you want to go get water, I'm standing in the corner like, what's up?
So you're just gonna be a jerk to people?
Oh, 100%. If I'm stuck in limbo, you know me, I gotta do something active. I gotta do something where I could get a win for the day. So if I scared you, it's like, what's up? And if you ain't scared, I'm gonna mess with you. I'm gonna turn the light on. Once you get up to turn it off, I'm gonna turn it back on again, you know?
So who would you haunt?
That's a question. You know, I would haunt my mother just so she know I'm there. I wouldn't do too much to her, but like little things just to know she there. I'll haunt my wife just so she know if I'm gone, you ain't moving on with nobody, girl. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you with me for life.
You're not there, she's still married to you.
Oh, you know why? Because if she died, she'd be waiting for me too. So it's like I haunt my wife. I don't know. That's a good question because I wouldn't haunt out of spite for anyone. I'd haunt people who I'm close to just so they know I'm there.
Okay. So just so you know, you try to haunt me, I'm getting the Ghostbusters after your ass.
You know, I'm haunting you. I'm haunting you when the Knicks play. If you don't watch the Knicks that night, I'm haunting you. You're gonna start watching that.
All right, sir. Let's get to it. So, you are many things, and we'll start from the beginning. So let's find out a little bit about your past. Tell me about growing up on Long Island, how your childhood was.
I came up two parent household.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a family house, you know, so it was I was the young one. I have a lot of siblings, but me growing up, it was me and my brother. But I was the young one in my family because I had older cousins who's my brother's age, who's 6 years older than me, where I was the runt, trying to hang around, trying to be around everyone. As much as I wanted to be around because I'm the kid who always wants to tag along, I always wanted my independence as well. Mm-hmm. But two family household revolved around academics and athletics. My mother played softball until I was older, even on like the women's softball teams. My father was a basketball dude, one of them dudes who'll talk you out your shoes. Where it's like, hey, I know he was doing it back in the day because he talked too much not to be doing it back in the day, you know. But very competitive. We competed for everything. Everything. I had to hold my own, you know.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Hold your own. Because you said
Like,
academics before athletics. So what does that mean, hold your own?
got to get your respect, academics first, because that's something you nobody can take away from you. Like, hey, you could make a test as hard as possible, but if I prepared myself and if I know certain things, there's nothing you can do to stop me from succeeding. Like athletics, as much as I love it, as much as it runs my life, injury, everyone's inch away from injury would mess you up. So you find ways to make sure you do things that no one can take it away from you. Rich, broke, whatever, no one can take it away from you. Hey, you could see the homeless guy on the corner, and everyone could mock him because he's homeless, but he has that degree, he has that intelligence where no one could take away. It's just how he uses it.
Yeah. So we talked about your parents. What were they like when you were growing up? I know you said your mom was an athlete, your father was an athlete. What were they like?
My mom, and I think I was the golden child. But the reason I was the golden child, and everything has a purpose, is because I saw my older brother doing things, and to me, I felt like, hey, if I follow in those shoes, when I saw him doing certain things, instead of it's me being the little brother following my older brother, I thought I looked stupid. If I see him get in trouble for something, I already saw the outcome. Why do it? So I was a pretty good kid, and my father was like my best friend. My mother, she was more the enforcer, but my father, when I know he was serious about something, because he wasn't always that way, I knew it was real, But it was. They made sure I stayed on my priorities. I was a pretty spoiled child, but where my the trade-off was, I handled my priorities. School was always right. Sports was always right because I worked for it. But some people say spoiled, and I can say spoiled as in I got what I wanted, but it was a purpose to it, and it was a process to it, because the work I put into it, it was second nature.
Yep.
So they instill that from the beginning, where if you don't handle your business, you can't get the stuff you want.
You talked about when we did our pre-interview that there was a difference between your life and sport, and that sports sort of centered you.
Because most kids, when we all learn on the fly, and most people, they're all raised how they're raised, as much as we're all in a basically same society, coming in the same school district, same area. Like Long Island, as big as Long Island, or small, whoever says it, as Long Island is, it's we're all raised the same way in a certain aspect of school purposes, or different towns, how they are. But aspect of family, it's when you're being raised a certain way, or you're seeing certain things. Sports were like my getaway. It was the one release I had when things would go wrong, my family wise. And as I said, my family's priorities was always straight, but hey, things weren't always peachy, So when things go wrong, I would always go back to sports. It'll take the stress away. It'll make me happy. It's the most control I had in my life. Hey, right. I see my parents argue, and it's like, hey, they're arguing. I want them to stop. They're not listening because they're caught up in their own stuff. I'm about to go shoot. I'm about to go do drills. I'm about to get these skills right. So now when I get to the game, I have all the control in the world. Whatever I want to do, I played quarterback. Whatever I wanted to do, it happened. In basketball, and I say basketball is a sport where you have a lot of control, because, yes, you do play on the team. But worst case scenario, you do things to stand out, whether it's scoring yourself, whether it's playing defense, whether it's rebounding, where you're not relying on everyone else. You have to handle your own business,
Yes. Your parents, I know they are divorced. How did that have an effect on you when you were growing up? Because I know you said sports centered you.
With my parents, it was as I guess concrete. I had it, and I had a good foundation. But at the same time, like I said, I lived in a family house. So it was one of those things where my parents went through certain things, and the trade-off to the family house as a positive and negative is they never handled their own situations. So it was like they're getting batteries pushing it back from other people, not because other people are trying to, but everyone, especially as adults, we have our own BS we got to handle. So instead of on our own, it's put the battery in someone else's back. So a lot of my parents' stuff, them being divorced, how it happened is with me, a lot of times I would cry, and it should have happened earlier, but I would cry. My dad wouldn't leave, and then my mom would leave, That could have happened earlier, or even it could have made them stronger if they had to handle their own situations. Because sometimes certain things get prolonged because you're like putting a blanket over it, you know?
Yeah.
And as I say, going back to sport, is as bad as it was. It wasn't as bad. It wasn't as good as it was, but it wasn't as bad as it was as well. So it's really just finding my own control in my life, you know?
Now, mom is pretty religious from what I know. How did that shape your, we'll go into your moral philosophy and your cultural philosophy later, but how did that shape you growing up? Because parents got divorced, they go their separate ways. Mom's in the church. I don't know about your dad. Dad was here for a little bit, then he moved down south.
Yeah. I mean, they respected each other's lives. Where my mom was a religious person in the church, going to church every Sunday. And if she's even in the church now and she does more with the church than just going to church on Sunday. But it wasn't like my dad saying, no, don't go to church. But it also wasn't like my mom saying, yes, come to church. So they respected each other a lot. And where it helped me is, as I'm not a crazy religious person, when church would happen on Sunday, I'd fake sick sometimes because I didn't want to go. And I could be with my dad. And when my mom left for church, my dad was, you ain't sick. You just trying to chill. Okay, cool. You know? On an aspect, they respected each other's lives, how each other moved. Yep. Where it wasn't basically blaming on this or that, but they were able to still go on their lane. And I think it helps them both because now they're both remarried and they're both able to live the life they wanted to live, which, you know, seeing in hindsight as an adult, I probably, if I knew it was going to turn out this way, I wouldn't have cried when I was younger, you know? Right. But what kid doesn't want their parents to be together? What wants to see fun all the time, you know?
Right. Holidays, you're a holiday person, you said, right? How did that?
No, not a holiday person at all.
You're not a holiday person.
Oh, what's getting me more into holidays now is my kids.
Okay.
Like, to me, it's the same philosophy I have about fatherhood. Mm-hmm. It's with fatherhood, you go through what you go through as a kid. You can have a great father. You can have a terrible father. But if you have a great father, you would only want to show your children that. If you have a terrible father, a terrible father, you should want to show your kids better. So on the holiday aspect within my parents, I feel like they spent too much time together. My mom used to work regular hours, more 9 to 5ish. My dad used to work more 5 to 12. Holidays changed. They spent too much time together when a lot of the extraness happened. So me growing up, that was a time I really despised. And for myself, because I did that, it's a vow to me to show my kids better. It's a vow to me to make sure those times it's going to be great for them. Because as kids, and even in society, and we know society, a lot of it is consumerism, they're going to build up to holidays, and they're going to build up to those things. Like imagine going to school, you're doing the paper mache things, you're doing the cutout things for holidays, or we're getting ready for Christmas, you have that break. And I'm a kid like, F that. You know, I'm a kid like, I'd rather be at school because I don't have to be at home all day going through this or that. But instead of me dwelling on it, because it's easy to dwell on things like that, hey, what could I do? I could make sure my kids have the best holidays ever.
Right.
And now seeing them smile makes it better for me.
So when we talk about your parents, because we're going to kind of transition into, you know, your fatherhood and your coaching beliefs and ideas. You said you got your fire from your father and your level-headedness and confidence from your mom. Go ahead. Let me know. Explain that to me, sir.
My father taught me to never be satisfied.
Okay.
It's, and I think that also comes from him. As much junk as he talks, it's like, hey, I got to make sure I could always back it up.
Right.
So part of it, you're trying to prove to other people, but also it's you looking at yourself in the mirror saying, hey, I got to be good enough to be able to talk this junk, you know? Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things where I could have a great game, come home. A lot of times I have a good game, I go out with my friends. I come home thinking I'm coming home late. Dad might be asleep. All the lights in the house off. He's asleep. I go to the refrigerator. The kitchen light comes on. My dad's sitting in the dark like, oh, you had 25. You could have had 35. What you mean? I had a great game. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But it helped me understand like it's always something more. It's never, nothing's ever as good as it seems. Nothing's ever as bad as it seems. Because even on the flip side, I have a bad game. And he's like, hey, you had a bad game because you missed these 3 layups and this and that, where most kids will, I miss these layups, but he's showing me like, yo, these 3 baskets turn your bad game into a better game. You know, made me strive where it's like, hey, I did well today, but on one end, if I put in the work I do, doing well is supposed to happen. So what happens if I do better than that? You know, and on my mom was the loudest person in the gym, like for real. I used to watch film with the high school team.
Mom still is the loudest
person in the gym. I'm coaching. My mom's still the loudest person in the gym. People are like, who's that? Like, that's the coach's mom, you know? But it's like, I used to watch film, and with the team watching film, and my head coach would be like, oh, we have to turn the volume down because we're going to hear Ray's mom. And luckily, she was saying valid stuff. Like, you know, some parents don't know nothing about sports. They just screaming. Luckily, she's saying valid stuff. So I was fine with that. But it's one of those things where she's the loudest, but she's getting on teammates. She's getting on me. She's saying about anyone. So it shows like, yo, when it comes to your team, you're one of the team. I'm your mother saying this. I'm not saying it as, oh, I'm going to cheer for my son when he does well. And I'm going to, no, if you're doing pass the ball. No, you're missing today. So it gave me a sense of the people behind you could keep it real with you. Yeah. That means like, you're not as good as you seem, but you're not as bad as you seem. You know what I'm saying? They can keep it real with you. That means you got to do work. Like, I've never been good enough to have yes men. I'm proud of it. I've never been good enough to have yes men. Because if I did, I'd joke with the light skin and the cockiness on that, but I'll be crazy.
So, your mom's there in the gym. What is that like? How does that feel to have her unyielding support?
To be honest with you, me playing, I had it since I was a kid. When I used 7, 8 years old, I'm running a touchdown. My mom running down the sideline too. You know what I'm saying? She on the other side of the fence running down the sideline. Like my dad always sat in this spot and chill. My mom's running down the sideline. You know what I'm saying? My mom was the lady. I played for the Bulldogs as a kid when Who Let the Dogs Come Out. She's blasting that in the car. She getting the foul call and we score a touchdown. My mom on that. And even now with her doing it, it shows no matter what, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No matter what, I'm good. And I know skipping a beat to it, I see those traits in my wife as well. Like my wife is one of those people where it's like, no matter what, I'm good. To the point we losing the playoffs, I'm at home crying, bro. We losing the playoffs. I'm the coach. I'm at home crying. And she's trying, you know what it is playing sports. One of those times where nobody could do nothing, nobody could say nothing. And she's trying to control me. And she's doing it out of the love of who I am. But in the back of your mind, it's like nothing could really change that, you know? So on one end, that transition of having somebody else like that. But growing up with it, it's different because I'm looking at friends where we're giving friends ride to practice, we're giving friends ride to games. And like I said, both of my parents are hardworking parents. So it's like for them to make that time, for them to show that they care, that was big for me. That gave me a sense of I'm doing it for something more. Hey, you're paying for these sports leagues. You're paying for it if I do train, which I really wasn't back then like that. But you're paying for this. You're paying for me to get to this and that. My parents put me in a car when I was 15. I didn't have a license. They was trying to take me to practice. But you're doing these things where it's like, in my mind, this is an investment for me to be successful because they're investing in me. So that means I'm somebody. You know what I'm saying? I could have a bad game, like, oh, I suck. Nobody could tell me you suck. You somebody because your people's is investing in you. When I'm looking like we living downstairs of the house, that same money could go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Now, your moral philosophy, I know you've told me that it overlaps a lot with your coaching philosophy, and it's kind of the same ideals based off the same premise. Explain it to me. Let me know, like, you know, I'm your new player or I'm a new parent. What are you trying to get across to me as a new player?
I'm going to break it down this way. One of my assistants, Anthony Brazil, shout out to him. He might not be watching, but shout out to Anthony Brazil. And him play AAU, great guy, child psychologist at Walton High School. And where I know I'm reaching someone, and that's my big thing, reach someone. You know you reach someone because he can tell my message the same way I tell my message. But we got a new athletic director, haven't been named yet. We had a workout this Wednesday, we just came past. He comes in the gym, he sees me, he's talking, and he's like, yeah, you know, the new AD coming in. I'm like, yeah, you know me. I'm got these workouts going. I haven't met anyone yet, but got these workouts going. I'm trying to get the kids better regardless. I don't care who's coming in. And he said, like you always say, do what you can control. which I tell my players that, I tell my kids that. Hey, that's my biggest message, my biggest moral, because in life you could be privileged, you could be broke, you could think you have an advantage, you cannot have advantages. What does that do for you?
Right.
Absolutely nothing. All you can worry about is what you can control. That's life, that's sports. Hey, basketball, me coaching it, it's everybody can't. If your favorite person is LeBron, favorite person is Jordan, everybody can't be Kobe, can't be Jordan, can't be LeBron. You could only be you. What do you do well? What do you do well? You know what I'm saying? Life, we all go through ups and downs. People can't handle things the way you handle them, but you got to go with the flow. You got to worry what you could do, and you got to move forward.
Football shaped you as a person, and listening to your moral, kind of fibers, because it's not, we say philosophy, but it's really what you represent as a person.
It's ingrained in you.
It's what? Go ahead.
It's ingrained in you.
Yeah. How did football shape you as a person?
I'm a quarterback. One of my biggest, toughest coaches, and he's a preacher down in Florida. I haven't seen him since I was 13, but I talked to him last year. And a grown man in tears saying thank you. And I was into myself, I was lucky to be able to say thank you to this dude, Prince Breland. He helped me become a leader. He helped me understand that it's bigger than me. He helped me understand that forget whoever's talking to you. Forget who's in your head. It could be your teammates. It could be your parents. It could be other coaches. But you got to be someone where you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, could I do this?
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, if you can, you're going to. If you can't, you'll find someone else who could. But knowing that balance is understanding. If you feel like you can't, you're gonna get to it. If you feel like you can't, you already got yourself out of it. So how could you be progressive with it? I'm gonna find somebody who can do it, you know?
Yeah.
And being a quarterback, you know how it is. And because I know you're a leader, you're a man, you're a father. You go through things, and sometimes you can't show that emotion because you know you got to be strong for someone. Hey, we score a touchdown. I tell kids, act like you've been there before. I tell my players, you want to get recruited, show those traits what college coaches can't knock you for. Act like you've been there. You hit a shot, run back down, get ready to play defense. You know why? Because if you hit a three and you celebrate, the college coach is looking like he doesn't usually do that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you got teammates where if you could be the best player on the team, and if you're not having a good day and you're showing you're not having a good day, they're looking like, damn, he's not having a good day. That means I'm not going to do anything. You know, you're being watched at all times. But how do you handle that? And playing quarterback, because it was a year I should have started, and my coach told me at the end of the year, like, oh, I thought you were going to start this year. I'm looking at him like, you the coach, bro? Like, how you going to tell me after I'm supposed to just sub myself in? We went 0-8 that year. I'm hyped we went 0-8. It sounds terrible, but I'm hyped we went 0-8. It's like, yeah, coach, you should have started me. I know, because the games we were close, I get in, do something. I used to go in, and my dad used to always peep, because my dad's peeping every little thing. You know what I'm saying? I'll go in a huddle, and kids are looking down. I'll start dancing. They were like, hey, I got your attention now. Oh, let's get it. We score, but we getting cracked by so much. We went 0-8. We getting cracked by so much we can't win. You know what I'm saying? But it's like that where you could bring someone's morale up, and it's about the perfect situation. If my morale's up, if I feel like I believe in this person, I could do something.
Yeah.
So I learned that being a quarterback. Football is one thing, but being a quarterback, basketball is easy. If you touch me, it's a foul. Football, I need to know what 11 guys were doing every single play while they're trying to kill me. So
you talk about leadership, being a coach, obviously, being a father, being a point guard, being a quarterback. What is leadership to you?
Understand responsibility.
How do you maintain that every single day?
Understand responsibility. Not being afraid to know your weaknesses. Actually understanding your strengths. Not something you do well, okay. Understanding your strengths, because then you know how you can utilize it in positive and negative situations. Being able to listen. Being able to take criticism. Being able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I messed up, or being able to apologize. And most people think leaders aren't supposed to do certain things. I mean, in our world, in our community, showing sensitivity is shunned upon, and we know that, and we grow with fathers. You know what I'm saying? It's shown as weak, but to me, understanding your different feelings and emotions make you stronger because you go visualize it better. You know, the best con men know their emotions and feelings because they can make you feel a certain way just because they're trying to get over them.
So, what's your dream? What's your biggest dream as a coach? What do you want to? What do you want your legacy to be?
You want to know the true, honest thing?
Yes, sir.
When I die, to have a funeral bigger than Biggie's.
Why? Expand on that.
Because I mean, I impacted lives. Plain and simple. Well, I look at it this way. I go anywhere. I run into people I see. My wife's always like, somewhere everywhere. But that's great. You know why? Because when the kids are teenagers, they always being watched. And me knowing someone everywhere and people aren't afraid to say hi to me, that means I'm doing a good thing. Like, so
go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's you can make as much money in the world, but impacting lives is more. You can't take that away. And impacting lives don't mean people got to say he impacted my life. No, the person I impacted, they know. I had a kid on my team 2 years ago, and I had to get on him because I have an older guy named Steve who comes into practice all the time whenever he wants him. Steve come in, he's a mentor to me, and the kid disrespected him in a way where I had to get on him because to me that's a parent thing. And he has great parents, so now it's like, you got great parents. That's ignorance to me. Now, this kid, to be all honest with you, if we had the regular season we were supposed to have last year, I would have had more seniors because I had a lot of seniors who didn't want to play. If I had more senior players playing, he would have been on the cusp of getting cut. After our last season, this kid cried in my arms. Where to me, that day, I knew I made an impact. Hey, he could have pushed me away. He could have went in the corner and cried, and I wouldn't have felt any way about it because I understand. We all understand playing that last game, understanding that I supposedly care because these kids say they care. They don't really care. I supposedly care. I'm supposed to care. This is how the emotion's supposed to come out. He cried in my arms, which showed that, hey, what I'm doing is working. That had nothing about wins and losses because we were 1-4 this year, and we had games we could have won. We were 1-4. He cried in my arms. If we were 5-0 and he cried, I'm like, okay, you mad because we lost and we messed up the season. No, we were 1-4 and he cried. So it shows that my impact is actually working. Hey, that's one life I changed. That means that I could change more, you know?
You said you're shaping children.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It's little things where, to me, we all say it. Oh, kids nowadays, they're spoiled, they're coddled, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. And we're all saying it. And we're correct, but we're part of the problem. Because instead of a lot of people are saying it, just like we're saying it, but what are you doing to change it? It's easy to talk. It's really easy to talk. But what are you doing to change it? And for myself, I'm not going to list down things I'm doing, but I know I'm doing things. You know what I'm saying? But and that's how people want change. It's like change. No, do. Plain and simple. Because do means change is going to be natural. It's going to be second nature.
When you talk about parenting, there's a lot of overlapping with your coaching styles and techniques. You're shaping children. What role do you play in your players in that parental figure?
It's kind of like a snitch.
Okay. Sorry, there's a bug.
because it's one of those things where I'm lucky because when 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I know I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm still young enough to maneuver, but I'm old enough to know that ain't right.
Right.
But where I say it's kind of like a snitch because I can still relate to them. So they still see me, they see coach, but you know it is certain when you get to a certain aspect of it, they see more parent than coach as well.
Right.
But I try to get them to be open with me, upfront with me, to get to know them more because I know if I get to know you as a person, I could mold you as a player. But where I say kind of like a snitch, it's one of those things where it's like if I find out you're doing something you're not supposed to do, I'm gonna take it out on you as the parent, because I wouldn't want you doing something that I wouldn't want my kids doing. And all in all, especially because I coach boys, I understand because I was at that point. Like for myself, I coach at the school I went to, so I know what it is, which helps me because certain kids, but the teacher doesn't like me. It's like, no, you're messing up.
Right.
I can hear that. But it's one of those things where to show that I could be cool with you, but cool is just an interaction right now. It's not a connection. Meaning, like, we have friends who this is like my brother, and then we have friends where it's like, yo, what's up? You know what I'm saying? It's people you're cool with, and it's people you're cool with. It's one of those things. But I have to understand too, with these kids, it's with me molding, I have to give all the emotions. I have to give all the feelings. I have to understand all the emotions. I have to understand all the feelings. I have to show them as the parent, is because overall we all, like parenting, we want positivity and go. So for the coach, I want to win the game. But winning, we're gonna go through ups and downs. Like parenting, you want to form a great person, but to form that, you're gonna go through ups and downs. So the one tie was different is that they get a chance to go home, opposed to my kids. Like, hey, you mad at me today? You gotta wake up to me. What's up? You want breakfast? Right? Oh, you mad at me? Oh, get that box of cereal. You know, like.
So what does good parenting look like then, since we kind of transitioned to that naturally? What does good parenting look like?
You know, it's funny because I'm lucky for my wife, because my oldest son, this isn't her first rodeo. Like certain things, what I'll panic about, she knows how to handle it, or she understands how to handle it. You know, certain things also. On the flip side, it's like she already knows how to handle it. I'm on a different page with it because it's like we're both trying to mold two separate personalities to both of our kids to make what we want. You know, my kids love me. I love my kids, but human nature, they get on my nerves. They're crazy. You know, they crazy, and they get it from me. They get it from her too, because me and her wouldn't work if she wasn't crazy. But they get it from me too, you know, which is that. But I like understanding that because that's life. I'm not the dude going, oh, I got the best kid in the world. You know what I'm saying? Hey, but they're not supposed to be the best kids in the world, because if they are, they don't learn. They don't get better. They get capped off.
Yep. So when you say, and we're going to overlap marriage and parenting a little bit. When you say she's crazy, I know what you mean, but how does her personality help balance you and center you as a coach and as a parent?
First, where I say she's crazy is to be with me, you got to be crazy. I know I'm nuts. I'm nuts. You know my sense of humor. I joke about everything.
Yeah.
Hey, I talked about Vern today. Vern's 70, and I talk about he don't wear underwear. Like, that's just me. But what she sent is, it's a lot of things, especially for myself.
Right.
I need as a person, and she's not afraid to tell me about it. She's not afraid to call me out about it. And people equate someone saying something to you where you might have to have a conversation which you might not want to have as a negative thing, but she's only looking out for the best in me. And to understand I have someone like that makes me complete. To understand I have someone like that, I know she got my back. Like, as much as I talked about her consoling me after I'm crying after a game, sometimes in the back of your mind, you're like, yo, it's nothing you can do. Get off of me because we just lost. I might need this, but I need that, but she's giving me more than what I think I need, you know? And to have someone who knows what I need, as much as it may be annoying at the time, I'm happy with that.
So I'm going to stop you for a second, sir. We have a question. Mr. Matt Munoz wants to know, Coach, who are some good athletes that kids can look up to nowadays?
First athlete who popped in my head, Russell Westbrook.
Oh, boy.
Oh, not afraid to be his own person. And that's off the court. Not afraid to be his own person. He goes hard. I'm not talking about every day he comes out. Energy. He shows his emotions. He's not afraid to show his emotions. Not afraid to show what he feels. In my own personal experience, this dude, when I worked with him one day, the next day I seen him, hey Ray, how's it going? How's the family? Where it's like, you don't have to ask me these things. You don't have to care about these things, you know? And you don't hear any crazy stuff in the media about him. Hey, the craziest thing about him is how he dresses. But you're entitled to feel how you feel, dress how you want. We all have different eyes. For people to say, oh, this is A, B, and C. No, you worry about somebody else too much opposed to who he is.
So going off of that, we talk about this a lot. Individuality and being your own person, because you've touched on it several times. How do you incorporate individuality, being your own person, into like a team sport?
You can't equate regular people to celebrities, because celebrities have a freedom to do what they want because businesses feel it's marketable. Don't be afraid to be yourself, but you also got to know it's a time and place for everything. You know, it's one of those things where we're so group trained to the point where kids learn less in school on an aspect of, I don't want to look stupid, so I don't want to raise my hand and say, Miss or Mister, can you please go over that again?
Right.
Where if you do that, people say, oh, he or she's dumb, but it's like, no, they're trying to get it.
Right.
And it's 5 other people who feel the same way, but they won't either. So instead of the one person not getting it, it's 6 people not getting it, you know? But it's also on the aspect of parents who's adults.
Right.
Have to take their ego out of things. On the aspect, look at kids. You see 3rd graders, 4th graders with iPhones. Now, to me, it's your preference of when to give them this or that. That has nothing to parenting. Your parents style is different from mine. But where I say with the iPhones, it's something on the aspect of adults with the ego. They're like, oh, we don't want to seem broke. Everybody got iPhones. We got to send our kid with an iPhone.
Yep.
Phone to make sure they could contact you. You could contact them is one thing. But it's like, could you afford this for real? Is this efficient or effective for your family life? Or is it a distraction to your child? And their ego overrides that. So a lot of times the kids are getting trained a certain way to follow trends, to follow the bad guy. And I say the bad guy because bad guy is up to your own perception, because it's cool now. It's cool, and for the boys' sake, the girls like the bad guy until they're 24, 25. They want somebody with morals, ethics, and a goal. But that's a different story. But
it is.
But so when we're so group trained in it, being different isn't, and being different's not even that much different. Being different might just be I'm wearing Adidas instead of wearing these Nikes. Like, story about my family growing up, it was like whenever I wanted money, I could get it, but it wasn't like, hey, you're just gonna have this and it's passed around. So I'm like, oh, I want some money for some shoes. My mom was like, what do you want? I said, oh, I want those all white Uptowns. How much were all white Uptowns? $85. Right. Now we know all white's gonna get stepped on, they can get dirty. I play sports and all that. But they had the shell to Adidas 2 for $88. I got the shell to Adidas. I could get a white pair, I could get a black pair. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather do that than get one pair of shoes and be stuck. But all my friends had the Uptowns. But hey, when them Uptowns get dirty, you don't got the money to get the other stuff. You know? But individuality it's a lot of it knowing time and place, and understand you can't base your life off of these celebrity people, because that's what we see too much. We see celebrities do this and we're like, oh, I'm about to try that. It's the athletes thinking they could go to a higher level aspect. Hey, we watch ESPN, we see Duke, North Carolina, Syracuse all the time. But then you get scouted and you get a real interest letter from Farmingdale, and you're like, I'm not playing sports no more. I'm too good for them. No, that's your level. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Talk to me about levels, and I know you're talking about sports, but you kind of have you've crossed it over before. So talk to me about different levels.
I mean, levels to anything don't matter to me. Levels to me, it's more of a conversation where it's the water cooler conversation. I'm doing this, my child's doing that, opposed to what's the right place for you. Hey, you could be on the highest level sitting the bench. You could be on the highest level not getting that exposure. Are you going to be happy with that? Or you could be at a level that works for you, getting as much exposure and playing time, and that makes your life that much better. Take a kid going to college and you think you should play, and everyone thinks they should play. Everyone does. I don't care what level you go to. You go to Division I school, you sit the bench, and you like, oh, coach don't like me. You can make all the excuses. You know how people make excuses. Coach don't like me. That kid's not that good. He missed these shots. I should be getting a chance. That's going to stop you from going to class. Because now that girl who look good because she like you because you on the team, she's like, nah, stay a little later. You can stay a little later. But because your true priority in your mind isn't working well. Now, if you're at that place where everything coexists, everything works the right way, you become a better person. It helps you. Hey, I'm getting a chance, so I'm going to give my all. Oh, I'm going to care about these academics because you have kids who don't care about that first. I'm going to care about these academics more because I want to do what I want to do. Or that one girl who you do like and she likes you too, she understands, yo, he needs to go to sleep because he got a 5 a.m. workout and he got class at 8. It's not that girl at the other place, she like you just because you're on the team, but she like, I look too good for him. So it's like, you need to stay out a little later for me. You on the bench. I'm waiting for John, who's the sixth man, to say what up. You know what I'm saying? But it's not about the division. It's not about the level. It's about you being in the right place for you to progress in life, because that's where you learn your life. That's where you learn the things that help you become better as a person.
So you mentioned when we were talking about parenting, not being afraid to say no. Does that carry over? And I want you to talk about that, but does that carry over into sports too, in terms of not being afraid to say no?
It's an aspect of you have to set a precedent. And I'm gonna say this, and my wife might say it's different. Daniela, you watching? I see you. What's up, baby? Nah, but she might say it's different. Like Lil Raymond, I spoil him a little too much. I do, because I say the same thing about Jacob. She spoiled him a little too much too. But it's one of those things where they're not bad kids, but it's still got to set a precedent.
Yep.
Set a precedent. Even with coaching, it's you want to show them that they could get something out of it. You want to show them it's not always going to be negative. But it's also, you got to set a precedent. It's sometimes you got to hear the realism because they got to know I'm being real with you. It's a lot of yes people out here because you're the money maker today. But when you want to make the money and they want to keep it real, you don't know how to handle that. But in terms, it's not your fault. It's not an excuse, but it's not your fault because you never had to. And if these people cared about you, you would have learned it before.
Right. You talk about yes people a lot. And you've also spoken about people being comfortable with being uncomfortable. To me, those two topics kind of intertwine. So you have people that aren't comfortable with hearing no. You have people that aren't comfortable with, be your own person. So go into that a little bit more. You talk about people being comfortable being uncomfortable.
You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable because there's always someone better. And that's on paper. You know what I'm saying? But you also make it, if you don't believe in that, and I know this is me saying it, and I don't want people to take it as in like it's just how that, but if you don't believe in that, it's one of those things where you're going to cap yourself and you're going to never get better in things. Because it's always someone who's coming for you. It's always someone who is going to say you aren't as good as you are. But it's always someone who's also going to say you're doing well. So going back to do what you can control, it's more everything could say whatever about you. What does that make you do? Does it make you work harder? Does it make you work less? If someone says you're doing well, it's like, hey, I'm still going to have to do what I got to do, right? It doesn't just stop here because they said I did well. If someone said bad, said that you did something bad, it's not like, hey, I got to stop here. And in most aspects, to get to success, you're going to reach situations you've never been before. And being uncomfortable doesn't necessarily mean like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But it means I have to go into waters I never swam. So I have to find a way to maneuver. I have to find a way to adapt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to come up with this mindset for my team for next year. Like one of my players, he likes to say family a lot, and I'm like, yo, I don't want to hear that, even though I'm trying to go back into that aspect with them. But the reason I don't like kids saying family, a lot of kids say certain things because it sounds good, or they hear other teams say it, but it's like, if you guys are saying family, are you working hard enough for your family that you think you should? And that's what I'll go back with. Like he'll say family, like one day he's a family on 3, and I'm like, do you think you work hard enough for your family? Now, these are your teammates, your brothers, right? Because you're saying family now. The same way you work for this team, if it was a situation with your mother, what would you do? And he's like, I'll work harder. So I don't want to say the family thing, you know? So my thing coming up with for this year is faith.
Okay.
Faith isn't about, it's just an acronym. It's not about anything religious for real, but I like that it flows. It's not like people put acronyms and then you're like, someone's trying to get the word and it's like, it sounds dumb, you know? But faith, because it's like family first. That's if you want family first, you know? Adapt. Any situation, you have to adapt. That's being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Hey, you could be the baller on this team and you're a role play over there. Does that mean you're going to be unsuccessful because you have to change? No. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you see people you see in the real world. I have this friend group. Now I go to college, I have to make new friends. That's adapting to a new situation, which could alter your life forever, you know? Integrity. What do you do when no one's watching? That's what you know. That's what you can control, but you know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? T is together in life, whether you feel like you're alone or not, you're doing something together. Whether it's a job, whether it's talking to people, whether it's you're in the neighborhood, you're doing something together. What are you going to put there? And the H is for heart. Because in anything, you need to have heart. That means you got to work for it, or that means you have to have compassion, knowing your emotions, and knowing it's okay to cry today, because that means you're normal. You know what I'm saying? And I should have said normal this way because normal is normal to different people, but it means you're, you know. But I'm looking at it that way, where it brings everything together, because it's a mindset where I don't have to just talk about sports with his life, because that's a job, that's a friendship, that's a relationship, that's a family. You know what I'm saying? If you want anything in the world, you have to have those things.
So when you talk about the acronym FAITH, F is for family, adapting, integrity, togetherness, and heart. That sounds awesome. How do you get the kids to buy into that? How do you get them to really start taking this mantra and carrying it past basketball?
It's relating life to it. So I don't listen. I teach basketball, but I teach life. At the end of the day, like I say, I want my funeral to be bigger than Biggie's. That means it's more. It sounds funny. But that means they're learning more than just how to pick and roll. You know what I'm saying? We all have coaches. We all have people who coach us where it's like, oh, he died 5. I didn't even know about that. And we have coaches where I got to call him next week because I ain't hear from him in too long, you know? And that's not about basketball. That's not about the sport you play. It's about someone who impacted your life. So it's relating it to life. Understanding that, like I was talking to a parent the other day, and he's saying how he wants to get his kid to college and stuff like that. And I'm like, but how is he doing at home with you guys? And he's like, oh, he's this and that. I'm like, first off, don't talk about college if he's not doing the right thing with the people he actually cares about. Because college, he's going somewhere around people he doesn't care about, where you guys aren't there to say, hey, you got to do A, B, and C. You know? So it's one of those things, if your foundation isn't straight, you can't be looking forward. And part of looking forward is understanding the process of setting your foundation and then moving forward.
How do you build a foundation? How do you establish that same foundation using faith for your family, as a parent, as a dad, as a husband?
By teaching, by learning, by listening. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I can't expect it if I can't listen to what someone feels. And listening meaning, hey, you can say it was cool, but you could have came back at me and said, you know what? Sounds good, but that sucks. Hey, why does it suck? Hey, me and you talked earlier, and I heard a story about a dude who I had a conversation with Wednesday, and I heard a story about him yesterday, and he said I should have got fired after my first year, and the guy who told me the story
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, but he didn't want me to know. And he thought, because he's a guy who takes things personally, and he thought I would overreact to it. And I said to him, I'm going to ask him, like, hey, I heard you say I should be fired after my first year. Why is that? And to me, it's twofold. On a coach level, I want to learn. Why do you think I should be fired? Because now I can go back, you're looking as a spectator, you see kids once every 2 weeks, and you think, I could do this with them. You don't see them every day. But this guy who said that, not taken from him, he's a knowledgeable dude. You know what I'm saying? In his craft, he's a trainer, but in his craft, he's a knowledgeable dude. So I do want to get it from that aspect, but on the other aspect, I see him from time to time. I don't want a dude smiling in my face, knowing when I leave, you're going to talk about it, you know? But I have to be, to me, bringing this to my family life, my friendship life, I have to be able to listen, learn, take criticism, understand that conflict may happen, but it doesn't mean we have to go primal. We don't have to fight about it. We can agree to disagree. And from everything, it's learning from it. Learn from the positive, learn from the negatives. Because that's the only way I'll get better.
So a lot of people are hypercritical of you because you're in the spotlight as a coach. What about people that are hypercritical when you're not in the spotlight, but as a parent? Because I feel like as a father who has 2 boys, and I'm assuming at some point you're going to coach them, where do you say, okay, this is the roadmap I'm going to follow for them, and this is how I'm going to respond to criticism?
What's funny is I ask my colleagues, people I coach with, people I coach for, people I play for, one of the biggest things I ask, this is before I even had my kids, how do you separate parent from father? I know how I break down films now, winning and losses. I'm up basically all night thinking, watching, whatever. And my wife already told me, like, yo, when you get back home, I don't want to hear nothing about the game. This is meaning when I had the kids, which is understandable. It's like, nah, you got to understand. We telling you this now, so when it gets to that point. But with me, fatherhood and coaching for my kids, try to separate it. Because talking today, I can say, hey, they're going to want to play for me. And if I'm at Whitman, hey, they're going to Whitman. I don't care where I live. But on the other end, if they said, Dad, I want to go somewhere else, only way I could say no to them is if I feel like that coach won't take care of them. And I'm not saying playing time. I'm saying look out for their safety. If it's about playing time, give them a chance to compete. Because it's going to be a time they're not playing for me. You know? And hypocritical about me being a father, the only people I care about with that is first my wife, second my kids, because my kids I can get on them and they're gonna act like I shouldn't, and then the people I'm actually close with, my mother, father, my stepmother, my stepfather, you, because you're my boy, you're Raymond's godfather, but you're my boy where you're not afraid to tell me like, oh, you doing this, you doing that, or I could go to you and you know, it's people who I care about. My boy, Slutty, Rashawn Jones, me and him played in college. His son's Nas, little nasty Nas. His son's name is Nasir Jones. Me and him already talked. His son was born 6 months before Raymond. We were already getting all the ABA team, the AAU team popping when they turned 12, 13. He in Massachusetts. I'm recruiting people already. My friend Smoke, his son, like 2 months younger than Raymond. Oh, that AAU team gonna be real. That's how.
So you ready? So you ready for 12 years from now? I got it.
Yeah. But in retrospect, it's things where the same way I pick people who help me with my basketball stuff, coaching, come over, help, stuff like that. It's people I know I could leave my players. I'm calling my kids, but my players and my regular kids would. If I left the room, if I left and said, hey, could you watch them? People I know that I could trust. Those are people who could be hypercritical with me about father, because they understand my life more than just a father. And I go to them for help. It's not because half the time people are critical about other people's parenting skills. People are entitled to parent how they want to parent.
How do you define success as a parent and as a coach?
Now, you know, different goals have breakdowns of different things. Like I said, big goal is to be bigger than biggest funeral. But another one of my goals for me being a coach is, and this is also me being a parent though, it's if I send kids to college, people knowing they got kids coming from my program, they got good kids. I'm not talking about good athletes. I'm not talking about, oh, they got good players. No, they got good kids. They could go to sleep at night and know they handle their business. Like, don't get me wrong. We went to college. We lived our life. We had fun. But that didn't mean we weren't good people. And that's what I want them to know. If someone's recruiting a kid, talent is talent. Coaches can find talent anywhere. No, I want Coach Eatmon's kids because he is making good kids. And that's the same thing as a parent. That's the same thing as a parent, where walking the mall, we see kids sitting down, we see kids walking around. I want people to see, that's Ray's son. Oh, he's a good kid, whether you know him or not, but you know he's coming from my tree. You know what I'm saying?
So we often see stuff in people. We see things in people that we don't like. And we're like, oh, I don't like that person. And then you're like, oh, I don't know why I don't like them. What's something you saw in someone else that reminded you of you and caused you to change?
That's a hard question.
I know. That's why
I'm trying. No, that's a hard question for real. We need to come back to that because I got to think about it.
All right, we'll come back to that.
That one. I like that question. I like that question a lot.
When did you know you wanted to be a coach? When were you like, were you like watching videos of
hell no.
Games?
Hell no. I was the typical sports athlete. I got out of college. I'm still trying to play pro ball and stuff like that. And I played in the ABA. I went to D League tryouts, and while I was, oh my god, Danielle just came to the door and said, "What about baseball, babe? Could you make me another drink, please?" But I went to D League tryouts, and Coach Tom Fitzpatrick, one of my mentors. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be coaching now, man. Like for real, he coached me. I looked up to him as a kid. My brother played for him. Great coach, better person. Like for real, better person. On the aspect of, I'm home. I'm trying to get workout sessions, and I hit him up like, Coach, could I come work out after school? No, come right now, because he's a phys ed teacher at Stimson Middle School. He was the auxiliary. I'm in the middle of the day, stop his class, come open the door, let me in so I can get my workouts in. So doing those things, and then there was a time when I'm waiting to go to Atlanta or Miami for a tryout. The D League flew me out, waiting to go there. I'm like, can I get these? I said, Coach, can I come help out the team while I'm here? He said, you can come help out the team. I go there for 2 practices, right? They had the first game in the ISO tournament, which we play in now every year. First game at the ISO tournament. He's like, come to the game, but you can't take the bus. But I want you to scout from the bleachers. I'm like, okay, cool. I drive there, get there, scout. Tell him I go to see him halftime. At the end of the game, we talking. And he said, I don't want you driving out here. I don't want you doing that. He said, I want you to go to the board, ask what you need, so you get fingerprinted and stuff like that. He said, I want to get you on my staff. But and I'm like, all right, Coach, cool. I'm gonna do this while I'm here. Yeah, I'm gonna get you on my staff. I go do the stuff. First year I'm coaching. I'm volunteering. Christmas time comes, day before one of the practices. Coach comes up to me, here's this. Boom, hit me up for some bread. Mind you, Coach got 2 kids, got a family, he own a house. This money coming out of his pocket. I'm not asking for it. He gave it to me like that. No, you're spending too much time here. You're doing a great job. Here's some bread. Boom. Finished that season. The basketball, the pro stuff didn't work out like I thought it would work out. Before I asked Coach anything, he said, yo, you come back next year? Hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? One of those type of things. Like, hell yeah, I'm coming back next year. And then went rolling. And for myself, it's I went to Whitman. I got too much pride in Whitman. You know what I'm saying? And for him, he's a dude where, like I said, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be doing this right now. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to put my all into it. One, because I went there, I got pride in there, I care about these kids. But for this dude to stick his neck out, where luckily I'm the person I am, where he's able to do it. Not trying to say no, I'm an easy sell to that. Because the school loved me, I was a good kid and stuff like that. But for him to do that, it's like, I'm going to give my all. And I was just learning. And he's giving me straight leeway to the point where I'm in practice, like, yeah, Coach, hey, listen to what Coach saying. Oh, tell him. We're gonna do that in the game. Teach them. Come to me during the game, like, oh, what out of bounds play should we run? You know what I'm saying? Where this is a dude who went to states twice, won 4 Long Island championships, won 10 league championships. Coming to me first few years out of college, where it's like I wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? But to me, I'm gonna work because if you're putting this faith in me, think I could do this, I'm gonna do it to the fullest. You know.
How long in after you started with Coach Fitz did you know that you were either going to be the head coach of Whitman or B, knew you wanted to be a head coach?
It's one of those things where it's like me being realistic. I know Coach Fitz's kids was getting a little older, and I felt myself getting better. I felt myself caring more. Where it's like whenever he's ready to go, if I'm here, because I was in the transition of going back and forth to Alabama as well. If I'm here, ain't nobody else getting this. Ain't nobody else getting this. It was only one other job I could have got. I should have got it too. Cold Spring Harbor.
Oh, head coach?
Could have got it. But it was late though. Because what happened was Coach Fitz's best friend. I started training his kids. And he was loving me. He was like, oh, come down, coach my youngest son's CYO team. With the C Division CYO team. He said, I'll pay you for them. Okay, cool. So I go down there, coach the kids for 2 weeks. We scrimmage the A team. Scrape them. Now the coach was one of the dads of the A team. Like, yo, I want you to train my kids. Cool. That's how I'm getting connected, getting more kids. I'm coaching A team. So I'm coaching the A team and the C team. You know what I'm saying? I'm having big practices. Everybody, I'm doing all this. And the Cold Spring Harbor boys coach, he ended up quitting. But so now all these parents who I'm coaching their kids, they're boosters at Cold Spring Harbor. You know what I'm saying? When they came out, the biggest booster, Bob Taglich, great guy. Both his kids go to BC. One of them just graduated. I forgot where X is going, but his daughter plays lacrosse at BC, and he's the biggest booster. He was like, "Yo, I just found out that the coaching job just got filled. They told me late." He said, "If they didn't tell me late, I would have put in for you. Make sure you got that." I was in Alabama when he told me. I was like, "Damn." But hey, things happen for a reason, though. Right. Things happen for a reason.
Does it mean more to you, like pride-wise, that you're coaching the high school you went to?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It does on the surface level, because what I looked up to and what I'm striving for, because we saw greatness when I grew up, and even when I played, my team underachieved, but we saw greatness. Our goals were always to win state championship. And when I was in high school, we didn't have the team to win state championship like Twan and them went, but I was a freshman when they went. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have the team to win state championship, but those are our goals. But now the whole community dynamic has kind of changed, and even the kid aspect of it. And like I say, the kids, they're different, but what am I going to do? I'm going to try to make them want to do what I want them to do. You know, that's the difference in it. But on the no aspect, it's just because the kids have changed, but that's part of me changing it, you know? Right. Now, Go
ahead.
Would I leave it for some BS? No. Do I like being a head coach at Walt Whitman? That's passion. I love it. Not like I love it. It was only looking back for real.
Right.
Me, on some racial aspects, I'm the first black head basketball coach at Walt Whitman.
Wow.
Me, Tom Fitzpatrick.
Hold on. That's big.
I'm gonna go back to that. Me.
Wow.
Tom Fitzpatrick. Tom Kenny. Frank Gugliotta.
Wow.
That's in the past, what, 50 years? 60 years?
Wow.
50, 60.
So, what's that? How does that feel? That's a big accomplishment, especially in Long Island, in New York, for you to be one. I'm surprised that there's never been another black head coach, but I'm not, because there are not a lot of black head coaches, period.
For myself, it's the thing about race with me. This is just something that you can't change. So, like, I'm born this way. So, regardless, I could go anywhere and be the first black coach. You know what I'm saying? So, it's not that serious to me. But then when you look back, it's like, for the community-wise, it's that serious, you know? Because for myself, like, we didn't have many of us. Like Rufus Shepard, he's the girls' track coach. He's been there for a minute. He's the head coach, but been there for a minute. But just looking back, for real, it wasn't many of us. We had little league black coaches, but for the high school level, only time you were seeing black coaches for real is if it was at like a predominantly black school.
Right. So, as we wrap up, because we're almost at that time, we're going to do something called free association, which is when I give you a bunch of topics and you talk about them. Now, because you requested it, sir, what did you... Scottie Pippen, who's a phenomenal basketball player, came in, changed things with Michael Jordan, yada, yada, yada.
You're tied to Scottie Pippen and you don't know it. I'm
tied to him?
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Elucidate to me.
My cousin, Stephen Pippen, who did your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
That's Scottie Pippen's cousin.
Oh, wow.
That's how.
Oh, wow.
I told you one time Scottie Pippen is like a distant relative for me. Yeah. I didn't know that until for real, like 2-3 weeks ago. My dad was here.
Wow.
But then I put two and two together because Stephen Pippen, that's Scottie Pippen's like second cousin. That's why Steve knows like that. But the Pippen knows they got it. You know, we got the Eatmon nose. My family got the Eatmon nose. You know, my family. You see that nose? You're an Eatmon boy, aren't you? Like some days I don't know. Is it beef or is it cool? Nah.
Stupid. Yeah. But what he said, you know, to go back in terms of loyalty and all of that, he's mad at Michael, salty, whatever. How do you feel about the whole situation?
Now we know business now. We know it's all built all drama. If he wasn't coming out with a liquor in a book, I still wouldn't like it because it took way too long for it to come out. You sat on it this long, shut up. You got kids who's old enough. You got a kid who's in the draft this year. Yeah. Don't mess him up on that. Because teams look at him like, hey, I'm hearing his dad say this. As good as he is, as good as his dad is, we don't want the drama.
Yeah.
But you selling alcohol. You selling a book. Hey, and you got dreads now. You're trying to look younger because Future got your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it's do what you can control. You're Scott Pippen. Nobody can take that away from you.
Nope.
Nobody can. And he's trying to reiterate, I'm Scott Pippen. If you got to reiterate it, you're not secure with being who you are.
Yeah. So also in that vein, I sent you a clip earlier. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it yet. Chris Broussard was talking about USA basketball and the difference between USA basketball and how the foreign countries are catching up. And one of the things that he brought up was that, and you mentioned this, you touched on, that's why I'm asking you, this over training of skills and not enough basketball being played.
I mean, on one end, that's two different conversations about how they're catching up, because you could equate these international teams to the 4-year colleges playing against the first-year freshmen, because the NBA players, no matter how good they are, they play together in an all-star game. You know what I'm saying? And then you see where USA basketball tries to get a little smarter when people are going down with COVID or getting injured. They're trying to put in placemakers, not big names, but placemakers who will work. So instead of making the team what will work, you put the big names. Yeah. But when it comes to the skill thing, we look at it now. I say there's too many LA Fitnesses open up. And it's funny because I have a membership at LA Fitness. But where I say it's too many LA Fitnesses open up, you got kids thinking I can't play outside. So now if I'm training, and I'm waiting to go inside, whether it's a gym, what's going to be packed and you're not going to get the run, or if it's going to be an open gym somewhere, which is rare nowadays with everything going on, rare, they're never finding out how to use these moves, opposed to knowing I could do it. Let alone you put too much in your bag when you don't need that. Specialize your bag. Get 2 or 3 moves. Get a move, get a counter, and get that extra move to put you in your spot. You make that special to yourself. You perfect that, and you could get rocking and rolling. Everyone wants to do 15 dribbles, jump shot, step back, jump shot, do this jump shot. When one, you're not practicing it, and two, you're never going to use these moves because you're 6'7" center, but you're going to the workout and you're learning 6'2" guard. You know?
You said in our pre-interview that your reputation is key, not just yours as in you singularly, but you plurally. Expand on that a little bit.
Because if your quality ain't there, I don't care how much money you make.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do things for myself because I know at the end of the day, I change lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like Saturday mornings, we have our basketball thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had a parent ask me today, like, "Oh, do I need to give you something?" No, because I want to see you get better. Because what I care about, I want that to get better. I care about the game of basketball, and I think it's shit right now. And
why?
Because kids watch too much TV.
Okay.
And play too much 2K, and I love 2K. I love 2K. I got an Xbox. I'm in my son's room right now. He got my Xbox right there, and I'm tempted to turn it on and get it in. But it's the difference of in 2K, you could buy VC, which is virtual currency, to make yourself better. And in life, you can't do that. And kids don't have that time span to progress. It's the same as these videos. They don't want to watch music videos no more. They don't want to listen to music anymore. You can't make an album anymore. Mm-hmm. If I make an album and it comes out this Friday, 20 other albums which you can stream on Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that, it's going to come out this Friday. It's hard for them to listen to. When back in the day, you had to pay money to go. You have to, spend your money, your hard-working money, where even if you got an allowance, beg your parents, whatever, spend that $15 on one tape. And then you find out it's the album because I can't skip songs. So I have to listen to the whole thing. Where now the old artists have the B-side albums. They have album cuts, where nowadays they don't have that. It's just, I'm going to find that one song I like. I'm going to make that into my own playlist. And then next week you can come out with something different. Chris Brown come out with a 45-song album. Who's listening to 45 songs of Chris Brown? And songs 37 to 42 are probably the best ones on it. But who's going to get to that? Right. Let alone the same day he came out with 45, Kanye comes out with something. Drake comes out with one song that everyone loves. Rick Ross comes out with something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's who's going to be able to listen to that? But that takes their attention span away.
Yep.
They're not built to have a progressive attention span. They're built to, what could I get right this second? So that takes away from the game.
So, 2 questions left, sir. The first one, found a quote from Christine Kane. To build a strong team, you must see someone else's strength as a compliment to your weak, not a threat to your position or authority. What are your thoughts on that?
It goes twofold. The coaching aspect, I got to have my assistants who we all on the same page. Mm-hmm. Where if I'm not there, they're gonna say the word I would say, whether I'm saying it first or they're saying it first. Mm-hmm. Now, as a team, it's the message going to be put out differently, but we're all putting out the same message. But now training on the aspect of, say, my kids, not even my players, my real actual kids, Jacob and Raymond. Mm-hmm. I can shoot when I need to. I'm not a big-time shooter, but I understand I'm a head varsity basketball coach. I can say, hey, I'm training my kids because I'm a head varsity basketball coach. No, I'm going to send them to a shooter.
Yeah.
Hey, and that's the positive for myself. I have a network of people where I could send my kids to different people, whether it's my players or my kids, to different people, because I know they specialize in certain things. Right. And that's, if I'm looking at someone else's strengths and weaknesses, or I want to get someone else better, I'm looking at where I could send them, opposed to looking at myself. But that makes me a stronger person because I understand my weaknesses. You have to understand both your strengths and weaknesses to become better.
Yeah. Last question, sir. My favorite. If you could be any superhero or supervillain, who would you be and why?
The Riddler.
The Riddler. Interesting.
Yes.
Why would you be the Riddler?
Because at the end of the day, whether the Riddler won or lost, he messed with y'all heads. It took y'all time to decode. Like to me, you beat me. Mm-hmm. But you have to, after it's over, you have to sit there and be like, yo, he really got me. I always win. I always win. I tell people all the time, people like, yo, I'm the same. It's like me sitting on the toilet at 11:59 and getting up at 12:01. I wipe my same shit, different day.
That's very true.
But the Riddler, it's someone who makes you think.
Yeah.
Someone who challenges you, and it's not about the Riddler's not thinking about win or loss. It's like I'm gonna laugh after you got me, haha, you got me. But I push the buttons, and it's nothing you can do about that.
I like that.
Except olive green and light skin brown. You know, those go well together.
Mr. Eatmon, I thank you for being on the show, and we talked about a lot today, and parenting is important. And coaches like yourself are very important because it's more than coaching. It's growing someone as a person, helping them develop as a human being. So I will say in closing, it's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Epictetus said that. So it goes a lot to what you were saying. Coach Eatmon, I thank you for your time. Everyone, please like and subscribe to the show.
Like and subscribe.
Everyday Experts.
Church of Lights coming soon. Church of Lights coming soon.
Ray's a foolish person.
After I come back from Colombia, my podcast, Church of Lights coming soon.
I want to shout out. Ray, you going to give any shout outs too? You better shout out watching.
Huh? Wait, you already know that. Daniela Eatmon, what's up, baby? I'm going to see you in a minute. Whoever watching, go back. Nah, but for real. Shout out to Killy, my boy. Steve Burvine, he mentor to me. Vernon Lowe, he don't wear no underwear. I saw I saw my boy Dre in there and music. I saw him. My boy Slutty Jones, Rashawn Slutty Jones. He from Bridgeport, so you know they grind me up there, but he good people. For real, the Church of Lights coming soon. My podcast after I get back from Colombia. I want to make it consistent. I don't want to like start it early and then I got to take time off and stuff like that. But it's coming soon. Talking just self accountability. You know, it's that mature ignorance. We joking, but we talking real stuff. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
All right. So closing out July, next Saturday, the 24th, I will have Mr. Jared Jenkins, aka Bruce Banner. The show is going to be
birthday's the 27th.
Bigger and blacker. Yes, my birthday is July 27th. 27th. We're going to be talking about music production and all of those things. So I thank everybody for tuning in to Everyday Experts. So, Mr. Munoz, you can take us out. Ray, don't go nowhere.